Hey friends, John Clark here. I am right in the middle of Morocco, as you can see, near the edge of the Sahara Desert right at the moment. So with this video, I'm going to show you how I use ON1 RAW during traveling. I think there's a lot of things that might be helpful to people who like to go away, whether you're taking a long international trip or if you're just going away for a weekend. ON1 RAW has a lot of capabilities and it really makes things quite easy for you to be able to try to take your photos on the road and then bring them back home again. So let's go ahead and we'll go through the process.
After each days of shooting, the most important thing that I can do is make sure that my images that I've captured are backed up properly. And for that, I have a three-step backup process. Step number one is to copy the RAW files from the SD card into a folder on the laptop. And as you can see over here, I've created a special folder for each one of the shoots that I do. This is for the full trip that I was at in Morocco. So what I do is just open up the SD card. And you'll see over here that under the DCIM is where all my Olympus files are stored. And I shoot these in both JPEG and RAW files. And that's simply because the Olympus uses an OI Share app which connects to my iPhone and allows me to view images on the screen as part of the process. Now that only does the JPEG images though. The RAW images are not able to be viewed. So what I'll do is just simply sort by the RAW files. I'll go down and add anything that I captured that day or since I last backed up and simply just copy those over to the folder where everything else is stored. And you can see that's going to take a few minutes. There's more than 3 gigs on this side. So while I'm doing that, let me tell you about step 2 and step 3. So the second step to my backup process is to take the day's shots from an SD card and copy them here onto a WD My Passport hard drive. Now the unique thing about this is that it comes standard with an SD card bit reader built right into it. So all you have to do is basically remove the small plastic piece, put it in your SD card, and then after just a couple of seconds what's going to happen is it'll automatically start reading the files on the card, and you'll see the light over here start blinking when it starts archiving those particular files. The other neat thing about this is it is wireless, and it does come, here we go, now you can see that it's starting to read and back up the card, the SD card. So the other neat thing about this is it does have a Wi-Fi capacity to it, so for those long flights you can also go ahead and take a couple of movies, dump it on there, and that way you'll have something to watch on the airplane. Now I do also have one other thing that I can show you that's kind of a neat trick that I use. Now I wouldn't normally put this in while it's working like that. Remember, this is kind of a slow process, so it will take quite a while to back up all the shots depending on how many you have in there. So usually what the best thing to do is just pop a card in while you're going out to dinner or something like that. Now for traveling though, I have found that this my Passport fits perfectly into a Pelican 1020 case. If you can see this, it is sized exactly the right size to fit this particular hard drive, and it closes it up so that it will protect it for all kinds of bumps and travel mishaps that may occur along the way. So again, I would never do that while it's actually running like that, but just to give you an idea on how well that fits and just give you a little bit more hint for some traveling protection. So my third and final backup on the road while I'm traveling it deals with the actual SD cards themselves. I carry them all in a hard plastic case that offers some pretty good protection, and then my method for knowing what I've shot on and what I haven't shot on is actually fairly simple. Anything that is new and free and able to be used, I keep label up. Once I've actually shot the card, I'll turn it and put it face down into the slot itself so that it's protected from any kind of bumps and bruises, and that way I absolutely know that I do not want to touch that that card again for the duration of the trip. Now, the key to making edits on the road is being sure that your preferences are set in ON1 RAW to include sidecar files. And I can't stress this enough. You've got to do this before you start making any changes. Now here's where you go and find that. Under the ON1 RAW menu on the Mac, look for your preferences file. And on a PC, just go ahead and look for the preferences files. click on the Files tab, and then down here under the Sidecar Options, make sure that you have that checked on. You want to save sidecar files for the edits and metadata. That way, anything that you do is going to be saved. So once we click OK on that, now we're ready to go and start going through the fun part. So now that all of the backups have been done, I get to go into the fun part of the process, and that's rating and culling the images. This gives me the chance to be able to look through the shots that I took that day. And the way I do that is I just go ahead and pull that up on the local drive, right? So under the tab over here on the side, you have local drives. My Macintosh HD is basically my C drive, or the internal hard drive, and I'll just go down and find out where that images have been stored. So this is the Morocco folder that I showed you in the earlier part of the clip here. So what I like to do first is just kind of give it a first pass in the grid view. And the reason that I do that is because if a photo catches your eye in the smaller size, then the odds are that it's going to be a pretty darn good shot. So what I do is kind of go through them here, and if there's a shot that I really like, I'll look at it, click on it, and I'll give it a heart if it's something that I think has some potential for being developed at a later point. If it's a mistake, something that's clearly poor, or in this case, like a lady had walked in there accidentally, that I'll give it an X for a shot that I don't really care for. Now, if it's something that I think might be kind of interesting, I want to take a look at a little bit later, I'll open that up in a full screen to give myself a little bit extra room there. And if you hit the Tab key, you can even give yourself more real estate just simply by toggling the Tab key. What that'll do is close these side panels or open these side panels automatically for you. So that's kind of a nice shot as well. There's another option here to give that the heart. All right, let's get back into the grid view. We can either hit on the little grid area down here, or we can hit the G key for grid view. Now let me show you the other way that I try to rate and cull through my images, and that's going to be using the filters tab over here in the side. So when I am out in the field and I make choices about pictures that I like, I heart them for those that I want to be able to look at later. Now if I've actually gone in and done some type of developing to them, you'll see a green icon over on the top here. I use the color green to indicate that I've done some type of editing. That could be simple, just like all I did was add a crop to it, or it could be that I've fully developed the images over here and have them ready to go. Anything that's with red on the side here, that means that it is a completely developed, fully finished photo. It often indicates that I've done the next step and gone ahead and posted that either to my website, Facebook, or Instagram pages. But that means that in my mind it's absolutely finished and nothing left to do on the photos over there. So red means stop, you're done. Green means go ahead. There's something still left to be done for that. So that pretty well finishes what we do from a standpoint of being out on the road. I don't do a lot of editing out in the field simply because I prefer to do most of my editing on a large screen that's color calibrated at home, but sometimes I do get excited and want to share some images from the road. So let's see what happens now when we actually get home and can really dig into the next steps on traveling with ON1 RAW. Well, friends, welcome back home. It was a long flight, but we finally made it, and here we are back in our own house, and we've got everything hooked back up again. So you'll see over here, I've got my original file that we started off with. These are all of the images that we shot during the trip, and now that I've connected up to my other external drives, I have my ON1 photo library, and then that's being backed up by a time machine. So the first step that we do when we get back home is we're going to create a new folder. So if I open this up, you'll see here that I have several different folders in here, and one of them is for travel. So we're going to go ahead and add a new folder for Morocco. Oops, it would help if I probably spelled that right. Very good. So now that we have that, and we will open that folder, and we'll just kind of position this over to the side and go back to the original folder for Morocco that we used during our travel. And you'll see over here, it's got all of the images that we have in here, and it also includes the sidecar files. So I have my Olympus RAW files. If we scroll down further and further and further, there's more than 3,000 shots in here. So they include the Olympus RAW files, some JPEG files, and then also you'll see we'll get into the XRF files, which are metadata files, and then we'll occasionally run into the few edits that we made on the road, and you'll see a tiny little ON1 file in here somewhere. If we keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, let's find something that we worked on. Here we go. So here's a couple of photos that have had some minor edits one way or another, Don, and you'll see how tiny those are. They're 726 bytes. That's a pretty tiny little file, and this is exactly why you want to have the sidecar files enabled. So I'll hit Command A. What I want to do is basically get every single one of those photos, and then we will copy those over here, drag and drop that over to the ON1 folder. Alright, so now that we're copying these over, it's just a simple matter of drag and drop, and 8,917 photos. That's quite a bit. That's going to take some time. Remember, that includes all of the JPEG photos from my iPhone, as well as all the Olympus RAW photos, as well as all the XMP photos, and finally any ON1 photos as well. So that's going to take a few minutes to copy over. We see that happening right now, and I will come back as soon as that is done. Alright then, welcome back. So now you can see over in the Morocco folder in the ON1 external hard drive, I've got all of the all the files copied over. It took a while. There was about more than 50 gigabytes of data to try to copy over, but now we can close all of this out, and let's open up ON1 right here and see where that all ended up at. So back in ON1, this is originally the folder that we created on our trip. I have under the catalog folder here, travel. Here is the Morocco folder that we just created. And that'll take just a second to open it up, and you can see it's already starting to catalog all of the images. So it'll take a few minutes. That's quite a lot of data over here. And here's all of the images that we just copied over, just transferred over, and you can see right away the changes are showing up. Here's the hearts we did, the green that we created for a photo that was already taken, and you can see how quick it is to show images up. So there you go. That's my workflow, and that's the reason why you want to make sure that you have sidecar files checked before you start out. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the comments section. I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. Have a great day.